The Supreme Court is preparing to hear arguments that could decide the fate of the Affordable Health Care Law. People who could lose their coverage if the court decides against the law are rallying this morning. Our John Gonzalez is live outside the Supreme Court right now. John, looks like you got a big crowd behind you.
Good morning. It is a very big crowd, a very loud crowd. The case is known as King versus Burwell, and it is challenging Obamacare. And once again, it is taking center stage here inside the country's highest court. Well, you can see outside of the U.S. Supreme Court, hundreds have gathered, mostly opponents of this measure who fear that millions of Americans in 34 states will lose their coverage. But there are also proponents around the nation who believe the measure will just add to the country's deficit and that things should, well, be kept to the letter of the law. The argument is a phrase in the Affordable Care Act that reads, an exchange established by the state, which means, well, the federal government isn't allowed to provide subsidies to residents in states that refuse to establish health care. And currently, there are only 16 states and the district who offer these tax credits. We're going to talk to a local resident. This is Barbara, who lives in Northern Virginia. How are you affected by this, Barbara?
Well, I have a problem because I have 6 adult children, and right now 2 of them are uninsured, and 1 of them will be uninsured if the Supreme Court rules against Obamacare. My daughter was born with a hole in her heart, and when she went to the best hospital in the country and had her surgery, they didn't know about hepatitis C at the time. They didn't identify it. We were worried about AIDS. So they fixed her heart, they gave her hepatitis C, and now with those 2 pre-existing conditions, she can't buy insurance except for Obamacare with the subsidies. So if the subsidies go away, she can't afford insurance anymore, and she's not insurable. She's an attorney, she has a profession, but she's self-employed. And even she had a job where she worked for a sole practitioner who said, oh, I'll pay for your insurance. You know, you find it, I'll pay for it. She couldn't find any. If this goes away, she's without.
And Barbara Kornblau is the voice of her daughter here outside of the U.S. Supreme Court. So many stories, so many families that would be affected. We understand close to 10 million would lose their health care coverage, and many others would not be able to afford the increased premiums. So as you can see, a rally going on here as the justices hear the arguments inside. Reporting live, John Gonzalez, News Channel 8.